All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts. The trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. And the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Insidious Satanic Marxism, catabolic cultural revolutions, positional war, purity spirals, purges, and the woke mind virus. Written by Conrad Riker. Available now. Links in description. Men are failing the coffee test, and it's not their fault. How feminine hypergamy, emotional terrorism, and urban Marxism are destroying male sanity, one oat milk latte at a time. I once watched a man apologize for breathing too loudly during a conversation. Not metaphorically, literally. His girlfriend, sipping a 7 oat milk lavender matcha monstrosity, narrowed her eyes and said, "You're so intense when you inhale. It's like you're angry at me." He blinked. Then, like a man stepping into an electric chair, he adjusted his respiration. This isn't love. This isn't even dysfunction. This is ritualized psychological torture, dressed up as intimacy, administered daily by women who've been handed a cheat code, inflict pain, claim victimhood, win, and the worst part. The cheat code works. Courts, therapists, HR departments, and TikTok algorithms all bow before it. You think I'm exaggerating? Let's talk numbers. 50% of marriages end in divorce, but 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And in 90% of those cases, the man didn't cheat, didn't abuse, didn't abandon. He just existed in a way that became inconvenient. Meanwhile, male suicide rates are 3.5 times higher than women's. CDC data, not speculation, and yet every mental health awareness campaign blames toxic masculinity for men refusing to cry in group circles. When did endurance become a pathology? When did rational silence become proof of emotional deficiency? The answer is buried in a slow-motion coup. Feminism didn't liberate women, it weaponized female nature. Hypergamy, deception, emotional escalation. These aren't bugs, they're features. David Buss's research confirms it. Women prefer men who are calm under fire, but punish them when they don't perform emotional gymnastics on demand. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You pass her coffee test. She calls you predictable. You fail it, you're selfish. You stay rational in a crisis, cold, you rage, toxic. She doesn't want a man. She wants a slave with a heartbeat, a creature who anticipates her whims, absorbs her moods, and dies quietly when replaced. And don't even get me started on the cities. Lefebvre was right. Toronto builds gender-neutral bathrooms while male homelessness surges. Your garage? Evicted for a yoga altar. Your workshop? Zoned out by feminist urban planners who see solitude as isolation and isolation as a crime. This isn't progress, it's psychological colonization. But here's the red pill they don't want you to swallow. You are not broken, you are correct. Your logic is not toxic, your silence is not deficiency. Your refusal to beg for scraps of approval is virtue. And if you've ever felt like you're losing your mind in a world that rewards hysteria and punishes truth, good. That means you're still alive. The war isn't for your attention, it's for your soul. And I'm not here to comfort you, I'm here to arm you. The litmus of loyalty, testing men in a world of emotional debris. Love means never having to say you're sorry. That line from Love Story a film celebrated in the 70s as the pinnacle of romance, is now, in the year of our Lord 2024, the operating manual for emotional tyranny. Let me tell you, brother, if you believe that garbage, you're already 3 coffees behind and about to get served divorce papers over mismatched oat milk. I once sat in a Starbucks eavesdropping on a woman scream at a barista because her extra hot, half-foam, single-origin, shade-grown, ethically harvested oat milk latte wasn't precisely 1.7 degrees warmer than the last one. The barista looked like he'd just been sentenced to a gulag, and I thought, this is how empires fall, one oat milk at a time. You think I'm exaggerating? Let's dissect this. That woman wasn't angry about coffee. She was conducting a loyalty test. And not just any loyalty test, but a gynocentric litmus. A small, trivial manufactured crisis designed to assess whether men will grovel, apologize, and reprogram their behavior to appease her emotional whims. This isn't love, this is behavioral conditioning, this is Pavlov's dog, but the bell is a slightly cooler latte, and the dog is you on a leash made of guilt, obligation, and misplaced chivalry. David Buss, in The Evolution of Desire, laid it bare. Women, evolutionarily speaking, use minor infractions as proxies for long-term commitment. Did he remember the oat milk? Good. Does he care enough to suffer over it? Promising. Will he crawl on broken glass to get the right foam density? Now we're talking. It's not about coffee. It's about hypergamy. It's about testing whether you're a resource-rich, emotionally compliant beta who will endure humiliation for the privilege of her presence. And Hollywood? Hollywood is the propaganda arm of this madness. Every romantic comedy since 1985 has glorified the grand gesture after minor neglect. He forgot her birthday? No problem. Just hire a skywriter, serenade her from a boat, or scale her apartment building like a Simeon Romeo. The message? Women can punish arbitrarily, and men must redeem themselves through increasingly absurd displays of submission. These aren't love stories, they're training films for emotional masochism. Watch enough of them, and you start to believe that love is measured in public humiliation and airport sprints. Meanwhile, real men, stoic, rational, self-respecting men, are labeled emotionally unavailable because they refuse to turn their lives into a TikTok apology tour. I once read a divorce court transcript where a woman cited her husband's consistent failure to warm her bathwater to exactly 39.2 degrees Celsius as evidence of emotional neglect. 39.2 degrees Celsius, not 39, not 40, 39.2. This was an oversight. This was a test and he failed by 0.2 degrees. The judge awarded her primary custody, alimony, and the Tesla. Meanwhile, men are dying by their own hand at 4 times the rate of women, not because they're fragile, but because they've been conditioned to endure emotional debris without complaint, only to be punished for their silence. The DSM now pathologizes male stoicism as alexithymia, as if the ability to endure suffering without whining is a mental disorder. Meanwhile, women are encouraged to scream, cry, journal, therapy shop, and TikTok their way through every micro-offense, while men are told to check their privilege for daring to question the imbalance. Let's talk about emotional labor, the invisible tax men pay in relationships. According to the American Time Use Survey, women spend twice as much time on emotional maintenance in relationships, scheduling, remembering birthdays, initiating tough conversations, managing conflict, and extracting apologies. But here's the twist. They demand more emotional effort while giving less in return. It's a one-way system of taking. You're expected to sit through her 45-minute monologue about how her yoga instructor gaslit her for using the wrong mat. Then apologize for not having a fix while she scoffs when you bring up your car needing brakes. This isn't equality. This is emotional feudalism. You're the worker and she's the ruler of emotional demands. And the worst part, when you don't react, when you display stoic indifference, you're punished. You don't care, she wails, as if your refusal to panic over a misplaced spoon is proof of heartlessness. Schopenhauer nailed it with his porcupine dilemma. Humans crave intimacy, but get pricked by each other's demands. So we inch closer, then recoil. Men especially learn to withdraw, not out of indifference, but out of self-preservation. But in the gynocentric worldview, withdrawal is betrayal. calmness is coldness. Rationality is rejection, so you're damned if you react, damned if you don't. The only winning move is not to play. I've heard from dozens of men who now suffer anxiety attacks before coffee dates, not because they hate coffee, but because they know a single misstep, wrong cup, wrong temperature, wrong straw, could trigger a week-long emotional siege. One man told me he carries a laminated cheat sheet of his girlfriend's exact order. Oat milk, 68 degrees Celsius, glass cup, no lid, stirred 3 times clockwise, served with a smile and eye contact. He's not joking. He's traumatized. And yet, if he forgets the clockwise stir, he'll be lectured on emotional unavailability, as if he's failed some sacred rite. Wake up. These rituals aren't about love. They're about power. They're about control. They're about maintaining a hierarchy where men are conditioned to serve, suffer, and submit, while women are absolved of reciprocity. The woke mind virus didn't create this. It amplified it. It took the ancient machinery of female hypergamy, wrapped it in the language of trauma, validation, and emotional safety, and turned it into a cultural weapon. Now, men are not just expected to pass the coffee test, they're expected to celebrate it as emotional intimacy. The antidote? Stoic refusal. Refuse to play, refuse to apologize for existing. Refuse to treat every minor inconvenience as a loyalty oath. Your dignity isn't negotiable. Your sanity isn't a bargaining chip. You are not here to be a servant in the cathedral of female fragility. Break the spell. Walk away from the altar of oat milk. And when they call you cold, distant, or problematic, smile, hand them the wrong latto, and walk out without looking back. I've watched too many men, smart, capable, grounded, sacrifice their minds at the altar of female emotion. Not because they're weak, but because they were never taught that logic is a form of loyalty to truth, to family, to the future. They've been conditioned to believe that love means surrender, that peace means silence, and that reason must kneel when tears are drawn. But this is not civilization, it is its slow unraveling. The rational man is not cold, he is calibrated. He does not lack feeling, he refuses manipulation. And if we are to survive this gynocentric fever dream masquerading as progress, we must stop apologizing for thinking clearly. Because the moment we concede that emotion trumps evidence, we hand the keys to the asylum to those who scream the loudest. The rational man versus the emotional tyranny, decision-making under siege. You can't reason with a hurricane, I told my brother when he tried to explain fiscal responsibility to his girlfriend, who was sobbing over 150 pair of vegan sneakers she needed for her mental health. He backed down again. He didn't lose just that argument. He lost another inch of his sovereignty, another fraction of self-respect. And that's how it begins. Not with a coup, not with a revolution broadcast on CNN, but in a dimly lit bedroom where a man trades truth for temporary peace, silencing his logic to soothe a woman's emotional weather system. Let me be clear, emotional tyranny is not love, it is leverage. And in the modern West, it has become the dominant operating system of social, legal, and domestic life. I've seen engineers, programmers, accountants, men of numbers, structure, and precision crushed in custody battles because they dared to speak calmly when a woman screamed. One client, a mechanical engineer from Austin, lost full custody of his children because during a court-ordered therapy session, he answered questions factually and without performative weeping. The therapist's report? Detached, lacks emotional connection. Translation: he didn't pretend to feel what he didn't feel. Meanwhile, his ex-wife, who had maxed out credit cards on spa weekends during separation, was praised for being in touch with her feelings. Consider this: rationality is pathologized, while emotional indulgence is medicalized as self-care. This isn't therapy, it's ideological warfare disguised as healing. Look at the data. Pew research found that women are 3 times more likely to support impulsive policy decisions when framed emotionally. Think of the children. Rhetoric used to justify everything from school closures to climate panic mandates. Yet when men propose measured, long-term solutions, like nuclear energy to replace fossil fuels, they're drowned out by sobbing activists on Twitter, mostly women demanding immediate action without understanding the grid. Cost or physics involved, These aren't policy debates, they're emotional hostage situations, and the feminist intelligentsia have spent 50 years redefining rationality itself as a patriarchal construct. Bell Hooks claimed logic is a tool of domination. Derrida deconstructed reason as oppressive narrative. The Frankfurt School turned syllogisms into suspicion. And now, in high schools and HR departments, boys are taught that 2 + 2 = 4 is not a fact, but a colonial power play. This is not education, it is epistemic disarmament. They're not teaching girls to think like men, they're teaching men to stop thinking at all. They want you mute, docile, and guilt-ridden, the perfect emotional ATM. Contrast this with Sparta, where fathers taught their sons to endure injury in silence, where pain was not a prompt for pity, but a test of character. A boy bitten by a fox under his cloak would let it tear his flesh rather than cry out, because to do so was to fail. Today, we have preschools where boys are scolded for running too fast or saying, "I'm not hurt," after a fall. We have mothers who film their sons crying over scraped knees and post it with "my sensitive soul," as if fragility were virtue. This is not nurturing, it is cultural castration, and it doesn't stop at the playground. It follows men into marriage, where the emotional blackmail begins in earnest. I've counseled dozens of men whose wives initiated divorce after they made rational financial decisions, like investing in a rental property instead of funding a Bali vacation. The wife's complaint: "He doesn't care about my happiness. Never mind that the investment would secure the children's future. Never mind that he worked 70-hour weeks to make it happen." To her, short-term emotional gratification outweighed long-term stability. That's not a marriage, that's a hostage negotiation with floral curtains. Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter was a masterclass in rational decision-making. Buy a dying platform, cut waste, restore free speech, monetize authentically. Every move was based on cost-benefit analysis, not focus group sentiment. And what happened? A tsunami of hysteria led overwhelmingly by women on social media, accusing him of being reckless, toxic, heartless. They didn't critique his balance sheet, they attacked his vibes. They didn't analyze user growth, they wept about safe spaces. These were not investors, they were emotional fundamentalists, worshipping at the altar of feels, demanding leaders sacrifice logic on the pyre of sentiment. Stéphane Molyneux was right. Freedom is the ability to say 2 + 2 = 4, but try saying it when a woman says she feels like it's 5, and you're not just wrong, you're abusive. That phrase, "if you loved me, you'd do X," is not love. It's guilt weaponry. It's the emotional equivalent of a Trojan horse, smuggling irrational demands past the gates of reason. I once had a friend who refused to co-sign a loan for his girlfriend's failed art therapy business. She responded, "I guess you don't really care about me." He caved. The business collapsed. She dumped him, saying he never supported her dreams. He lost $27,000 in a year of his life, all because he feared being labeled cold. This script runs everywhere. In boardrooms where CEOs abandon profitable strategies to avoid hurting team morale. In politics where leaders push feel-good policies that collapse economies. In churches where pastors preach love while ignoring biblical justice. The myth of emotional intelligence has elevated female irrationality to a sacred status, while male logic is smeared as toxic, detached, or on the spectrum. Let me cut through the noise. Emotion is data, not a directive. Fear tells you there's danger. Sadness tells you there's loss, but neither tells you what to do about it. That's where reason comes in the faculty we evolved to override impulse, to calculate consequence, to build civilizations. The remedy: reclaim the trivium. Teach boys grammar, the structure of language, so they can detect sophistry. Teach them logic so they can dismantle fallacies like "you're only saying that because you're a man." Teach them rhetoric, not to manipulate but to defend truth against emotional onslaught. A boy trained in syllogisms can crush "I feel it's wrong" with "feelings are not facts." He can silence the guilt trip with "correlation does not imply causation." He becomes immune to the woke mind virus because he possesses the antibodies of reason. The living spirit of Western civilization, Aristotle, Aquinas, Locke, Kant, was not built on tears. It was built on truth, tested in fire, refined by debate. And if we are to survive this catabolic cultural collapse, we must return to it, not with whining, not with petitions, but with unyielding rationality. Decide based on evidence, not empathy. Act on principle, not pressure. And when a woman says, "You don't understand how I feel," you look her in the eye and say, "I understand perfectly." But feelings don't get to vote on reality. I've seen this pattern too many times to chalk it up to coincidence. Some quiet morning at a coffee shop, a man makes a minor mistake, and in less time than it takes to wipe the spill, he's on trial for his entire personality. I used to think it was just bad luck, or perhaps poor communication, but now I see the deeper architecture. This isn't about spilled water or wrong orders. It's about control. It's about installing a system where every male action is preemptively suspect, where the smallest misstep becomes proof of systemic failure, and where the only escape is total submission to emotional extortion. And the worst part, we were taught to believe this is progress, that dismantling male confidence is justice. But justice doesn't humiliate. Justice clarifies. What we're witnessing is injustice. It's ritual humiliation disguised as empathy. And if men don't wake up to this con, we won't just lose our rights. We'll lose our dignity, one apologetic sorry at a time. The polite prison, how civility is weaponized against men. The moment you apologize for breathing too loud, you've already lost the war. I watched a man, let's call him Greg, knock over a water glass at a cafe. His hand trembled slightly, probably from caffeine and lack of sleep, like most of us. He said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to." The woman across from him didn't say it's fine. She didn't say no worries. No, she leaned forward and said, "You always do this. You're so clumsy. Why can't you pay attention?" One spilled glass, 1 second of accident, and suddenly Greg wasn't a man who made a mistake. He was a failure of character. The water hadn't spilled, his soul had. This isn't a story about a clumsy guy. This is a story about how the left, under the banner of emotional intelligence and kindness, has turned basic human interaction into a psychological guillotine aimed squarely at men. They've redefined civility not as mutual respect, but as female entitlement to male deference. And if you step out of line by asserting a boundary, by refusing to apologize for existing, by daring to say no, you're not just impolite, you're toxic. I've studied Marcus Aurelius, not to mine his words for trendy slogans, but because he lived power. He governed a vast empire amid betrayal, epidemic, and deceit from those closest to him. His answer, stillness, order, responsibility. He didn't seek comfort on public platforms. He didn't demand pity or understanding. He didn't shrink from strength. Yet now men who follow such a path are labeled broken. Modern psychology labels their reserve as alexithymia, a supposed failure to name feelings. But truthfully, it's not failure. It's rejection of forced emotional exposure. When a man stays quiet during conflict, he isn't numb, he's holding back. But the ideologues, those parasites thriving on societal collapse, have turned silence into a crime. They name it emotional neglect. In divorce hearings, magistrates, frequently female, use a father's calm presence as proof he lacks love for his kids. Never mind, he covers every expense, attends every meeting, and keeps his voice level. No, because he didn't break down when his child stumbled, he's disconnected. Meanwhile, the woman who shouted at him for not hearing when he chose a different drink, she's sensitive and present. This isn't fairness. This is mental manipulation dressed as healing. Let's talk about the barista at a Starbucks in Portland. Yes, of course it's Portland. A man ordered an iced latte. His female companion interrupted, demanded it be changed to oat milk, extra foam. The barista said, "Sir, I already started making it. Can she order her own?" The man agreed. The woman exploded. "You never listen to me. You don't respect me. You're so selfish." She filmed it, posted it online. By nightfall, the barista was fired. Not the woman, not the man. The barista for defending a customer's autonomy. Think about that. The man didn't even want the change, but the system punished the one person who upheld basic fairness. This is the new morality. Female emotional outbursts override male rights. The man is expected to cave. The worker is expected to obey. And if anyone resists the tantrum, they're abusive. This isn't civility. This is cannibalism, a culture devouring its own pillars to feed female narcissism. The CDC reports that men die by suicide at nearly 4 times the rate of women. 4 times. And yet, when was the last time you saw a men's mental health fundraiser at your local Whole Foods? Never. Instead, they sell 9 kale smoothies to women who cry in yoga class because their crystals are misaligned. Men are collapsing under the weight of performative empathy, a system that demands they apologize for their height, their voice, their success, their very presence. I've seen men fired for saying good morning to a colleague. I've seen fathers lose custody because they didn't validate their ex-wife's feelings during a divorce hearing. One man told me his therapist said, "Your trauma doesn't matter. What matters is how your wife feels about your trauma." That's not therapy, that's ideological possession. The left has turned emotional validation into a sacrament, and men are the sacrificial lambs. There's a scene in Apocalypse Now where Martin Sheen's character stares into the jungle and says, "Drop the bomb." There's no time. That's how men need to treat emotional blackmail. Immediate, decisive, total. The wrong coffee scenario. It's not about coffee, it's a trap, a test. Women, especially high drama, high agency, women shaped by feminist propaganda, use minor infractions to extract guilt, extract concessions, extract control. Did he forget to text? You don't care. Did he want to watch the game instead of talking about her day? You're emotionally unavailable. This isn't relationship building. This is purity spiraling, a Marxist tactic imported from political witch hunts and applied to dating. Every man is presumed guilty until he proves his submissiveness, and the punishment for resistance, social exile. Career destruction, loss of children. Jordan Peterson's lobster hierarchy isn't a metaphor, it's a biological law. Lobsters don't apologize for taking up space. They don't ask permission to dominate. And men who say sorry for standing too tall, for speaking too loud, for refusing to kneel, are selected out of the gene pool. Nature doesn't reward the nice guy, it rewards the effective guy, the one who protects his tribe, who leads, who asserts. But the feminist Marxist complex has inverted this. They call stoicism toxic, they call honor oppressive, they call self-reliance narcissism. Meanwhile, when women display the same traits, when they're stoic, dominant, unemotional, they're strong and inspiring. This isn't equality. This is gender-based double standards dressed up as progress. The red pill isn't about hating women. It's about seeing reality. And reality is this. Men are being psychologically tortured through a system that rewards female emotion and punishes male reason. The polite prison is a cage built from guilt, shame, and false empathy. But the door is unlocked. The key: stop seeking approval for being polite. True virtue isn't being nice. True virtue is doing what's right, regardless of who gets upset. If a woman screams because you won't change your coffee order, let her scream. If a judge awards custody to a narcissistic ex because you didn't cry on cue, let him write the order. Your integrity is not for sale. Your silence is not weakness, and your refusal to play the game. That's the first act of freedom. It hit me like a ratchet wrench to the temple. The personal is no longer political. The domestic is architectural warfare. When they take your garage, they're not just stealing a workspace, they're dismantling the last outpost of male sovereignty, brick by greasy brick, until even the echo of a man's solitude is sanitized into a mindfulness soundscape for someone else's emotional tourism. Urban revolution and the death of the male psyche, Lefebvre's nightmare realized. "You know what they did to my garage?" said my friend Dave, a 52-year-old welder with grease permanently etched under his fingernails. "My wife kicked me out of it, said it was toxic masculinity storage, and converted it into a self-care sanctuary with essential oils, yoga mats, and a sound bath machine that looks like a UFO vomited glitter." I laughed until I realized he wasn't joking. This isn't just marital tyranny, it's urban revolution in miniature. The garage, the last redoubt of male autonomy, the modern-day forge where men tinker, build, escape, and think, has been declared enemy territory in the feminist war on masculinity. And if your home is your castle, then the garage is its dungeon, where knights retreat to sharpen their swords, not where queens install a lavender-scented trauma pod for emotional unpacking. Now extrapolate. Dave's Garage is a synecdoche of a far larger, insidious transformation, the deliberate urban engineering of male obsolescence. Look at Toronto's new gender-neutral housing complexes sponsored by the city, funded by your tax dollars, where private bathrooms are abolished in favor of communal inclusion zones, where surveillance lighting floods every corner, where open concept layouts ensure no man can close a door and be alone. These aren't housing projects, they're behavioral conditioning centers disguised as progress. They don't house people, they reshape them. And the target demographic? Introverted, self-sufficient, quietly competent men. The kind who fix their own cars, read Marcus Aurelius, and don't cry on Instagram. These spaces are designed to break such men, to make solitude impossible, to infantilize male psychology into a state of perpetual emotional exposure. It's not architecture, it's psychological warfare. Let's talk numbers, because facts are the antidote to emotional propaganda. According to HUD, 70% of social housing in North America is allocated to women, despite rising male homelessness, which has increased by 32% since 2016, with unsheltered men making up 75% of the street population. Meanwhile, women receive 85% of public housing subsidies in gender-divided allocation systems. How is this not structural misandry? How is this not state-sponsored genocentrism? When a man loses his job, his family, his dignity, the system doesn't offer him a room, it sends him a pamphlet on toxic masculinity. But when a woman faces the same crisis, she gets housing, therapy, childcare, and a narrative of victimhood that follows her like a halo. This isn't equality, it's gender-based rationing of compassion, and it's baked into urban policy like rat poison in cake. Henry Lefebvre, in The Urban Revolution, warned that cities would become machines of alienation, spaces where human rhythm is replaced by bureaucratic logic, where space is commodified, and where the individual is stripped of autonomy. He was right, but he didn't foresee that the revolution would be feminist. Lefebvre imagined capitalism as the enemy. He missed the cult of gynocentrism, which has hijacked his right to the city and turned it into a weapon against men. Today, that right means women can demand segregated transit, female-only festivals, gender quotas in tech, and safe spaces from male energy, while men are told to shrink, apologize, and disappear. The city is no longer a shared domain, it's a gynocracy with zoning laws. Lefebvre's dream of liberation has become a feminist police state with yoga classes. Compare this to the male spaces of actual human progress. The medieval guilds, where journeymen learned mastery under masters, not HR consultants. The American frontier, where homesteaders built cabins with their own hands and resolved disputes with rifles, not pronouns. The whaling ships of the 18th century, where men spent years at sea in brotherhood, hierarchy, and purpose. These were not oppressive, they were initiatory. They forged men. They demanded competence, courage, and silence in the face of suffering. Today, we've replaced the forge with the feeling circle, the frontier with the gender studies syllabus, the ship's deck with the trauma-informed classroom, and wonder why men are depressed, disconnected, and dying younger. The destruction of the workshop is no coincidence, it's policy. Your garage, your shed, your basement, these were fortresses of male autonomy, where you could build, fix, invent, or simply exist without being dissected by therapy speak. Now they're being relabeled as zones of toxic masculinity or turned into mindfulness capsules for your partner's inner peace quest. I recall a real estate ad boasting a home with a calm garden and transformed manhood reflection area, which meant the husband gets exiled to the shed. This isn't exaggeration. This is today's standard. And it goes beyond homes, bars, bowling alleys, repair shops, hunting cabins. Every space where men gather is being wiped out, scrubbed clean, or reshaped for emotional consumption by women. Even architecture has been weaponized. Open concept living, great for surveillance. Glass walls, perfect for eliminating privacy. Communal bathrooms in office spaces. A nightmare for introverts, a dream for virtue signalers. These aren't design choices, they're ideological statements. They scream, you are not allowed to be alone, you are not allowed to hide, you are not allowed to be a man. The city has become a panopticon of emotional compliance, where every space is monitored, curated, and optimized for feminine comfort, while men are expected to perform emotional labor like trained SEALs. No wonder suicide rates for men are 3.5 times higher than for women. We're not just dying, we're being designed out of existence. So what's the remedy? Simple. Leave or resist, or both. The Neo-Tribal Compact isn't a fantasy, it's an imperative. Men must form sovereign micro-communities, off-grid, private, logic-based brotherhoods where virtue, competence, and truth are law. Think of it as the new guild, a network of men who trade skills, defend each other, and reject the feminist urban dystopia. No pronouns, no feelings audits, no forced empathy, just work, honor, and freedom. Meet in secret workshops, build real things, read Homer, not hooks, and when the city sends its enforcers, be it social workers, divorce courts, or virtue mobs, remember you are not their subject, you are their shadow. And shadows do not beg for light. You think she forgot your birthday because she's stressed. No, she weaponized the calendar date to test whether you'd grovel. You think she cried because you chose logic over her emotional tsunami during a family budget meeting. No, she's running a compliance audit and you just failed. Every wrong coffee order, every you never listen, every silent treatment for a missed text. These aren't accidents, they are drills, field exercises in dominance. And while you were apologizing for oat milk temperature, the system was compiling your loyalty score like a credit report written by a feminist therapist. Wake up. You are not in a relationship. You are in a behavioral trial. The courtroom, your living room, the judge. A woman who cites TikTok trauma as precedent. The verdict, always guilty until proven subservient. I once watched a man lose his house, his kids, his dog, and 80% of his income because he calmly explained compound interest to his wife when she demanded a vacation they couldn't afford. She called it emotional neglect. The court called it lack of spousal engagement. The state called it misogyny. No one called it what it was. Rationality punished. Meanwhile, a woman in Ohio gets $15,000 in state aid after aborting her 5th child, her 3rd by a different man, and we're told this is reproductive freedom. Freedom for whom? Not the child, not the taxpayer, not the cuckold. Let's speak plainly. 25% of paternity tests reveal non-paternity events. Call it what it is, a national cuckoldry epidemic. And yet men are still expected to show up emotionally, financially, legally, while being stripped of rights to their own offspring. The family courts don't need reform. They need a firing squad. Cities, they're designed to suffocate you. Open floor plans, mandatory community meetings, gender-neutral bathrooms. Every urban planner with a gender studies degree is slowly turning civilization into a daycare for emotionally dysregulated adults. You want solitude? You're isolating. You want silence? You're withholding. You want to build something with your hands? There's an app for your feelings instead. They've erased the shed, the garage, the tavern, the lodge, the last sanctuaries where men once spoke truth without permission. Now it's all emotional safety and inclusion, which in practice means silence the rational, elevate the hysterical, and tax the productive to fund the chaos. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. You don't need their approval. Not for your thoughts, not for your space, not for your life. Stoicism isn't dead, it's armed. And it doesn't beg for validation, it outlasts the noise. You've read this far, good, now go. Build the workshop, write the code, train the body. Speak the truth. Let women scream into their journals. Let the court stack the deck. Let the cities burn with performative empathy. You are not here to win their love. You are here to live by reason, honor, and clarity, while they drown in the emotional sewage they poured into the streets. The red pill isn't just knowledge, it's immunity. And now, brother, you're vaccinated. And now the sponsored book introduction, Insidious, Satanic Marxism, Catabolic Cultural Revolutions, Positional War, Purity Spirals, Purges, and the Woke Mind Virus. I was raised to believe in truth, hard work, and personal responsibility. I was taught that if you speak honestly, act with integrity, and master your craft, the world would reward you. That world is gone. It was dismantled, not by war, not by famine, not by external invasion, but by a slow, insidious rot from within. I watched institutions, I trusted universities, media, corporations, even churches, turn against logic, biology, and common sense. I saw men punished for being masculine, boys discarded like broken tools, families torn apart by ideology and language weaponized to silence dissent. I didn't wake up one morning to a dystopia. I lived through its construction, brick by ideological brick, and I refused to look away. This book is not a reaction, it's a response, a forensic autopsy of the cultural cancer that has metastasized through every major institution in the West. I've spent years dissecting the rhetoric, tracing the origins and mapping the psychological mechanisms behind what passes for progress today. What I found wasn't progress at all, it was regression disguised as revolution. It's not equality, it's revenge, it's not justice, it's power masked as victimhood. The left didn't win through superior ideas, they won through subversion, emotional manipulation, and a total disregard for truth. They rewrote dictionaries, corrupted education, and turned human biology into a crime. They didn't debate you, they labeled you. They didn't argue, they canceled. And they did it all while pretending to be the moral high ground. You're not crazy, you're not racist, sexist, or homophobic for noticing this. You're awake. And if you're a man who values strength, logic, and self-mastery, if you're tired of being shamed for your success, your ambition, your masculinity, this book is for you. It's for men who love the trivium, who respect the Western canon, who know that truth is not oppressive and that merit is not a conspiracy. It's for those who see the collapse of society and refuse to accept it as inevitable. This book will show you how the woke mind virus spreads, how language is used to enslave thought, how academia became a cult, and how emotionalism replaced reason as the dominant force in public life. It will expose the feminist roots of misandry, the tyranny of equity, the death of the family, and the psychological profile of those who enforce ideological conformity. If you're someone who believes in diversity of thought, who values biology, who respects hierarchy as a natural order, who sees masculinity as a force for creation and not destruction, then this book will arm you with the clarity and tools to resist. It will name what has been nameless, expose what has been hidden in plain sight, and give you the intellectual foundation to fight back. But if you're someone who thrives on victim identity, who believes feelings trump facts, who thinks equality of outcome is more important than freedom, then close this book now. Walk away. Pick up a coloring book. Join a therapy circle. Chant mantras in a group hug. Do whatever brings you comfort. This book is not for you, and you will not like it. It will challenge every assumption you hold sacred, and it won't apologize for doing so. This is not theory. This is survival. The institutions that once upheld civilization now serve to destroy it. Men are disappearing, opting out of work, relationships, fatherhood, because they've been told their existence is a problem to be solved. Boys are being medicated, shamed, and feminized from birth. Women, driven by emotional intensity and social policing, have weaponized empathy into a tool of control. The left didn't beat us in an open fight. They infected the host. They turned truth into hate speech, excellence into oppression, and dissent into violence. This book maps the infection. It shows you how the purges work, how the language was corrupted, how the media became propaganda, and how corporations became enforcers of ideological purity. It's not about politics, it's about reality. And if you want to reclaim it, you need this book. Insidious, Satanic Marxism, Catabolic, Cultural Revolutions, Positional War, Purity Spirals, Purges, and the Woke Mind Virus, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.